I might swerve in that corner. Whoa. Control my fingers, I'm tweaking this bitch, I'm letting shit go. And I heard that she wanna show me who she be, I'm gonna fucking with it, show me some more.
Bitch, we tied it, head to toe, could give a fuck the story. What you wanna tweak it up with me, and I'ma show you how that go. Like the money in my pocket, whoa. Excellent. Well, after a week hiatus, we are back. Banter and Bangers, episode 6. Let's get to it. A lot's happened since we last spoke. I believe the BMF title fight, stinker. An absolute stinker. Not fun to watch that, but got to give it to Charles. He dominated. Gonna let my dog through right here. Sorry about that, folks. Go ahead. You want to go ahead? Go ahead. He's being crazy right now. But let's get on to it because I want to talk about the fallouts from the BMF title fight. I want to talk about everything that has been announced. I want to talk about the White House, NEWARK, and I want to finish it off by talking about the card this weekend, because although it's not the greatest card, there are a lot of stakes attached to the main event. First, fallout of the BMF. Where do we go from here with the BMF belt? Where do we go from here? So I've seen a lot of people talking about whether it should be thrown away, whether this means that even though we will throw it away, should we bring it back like a break type thing? I have never loved the BMF. I'm hot and cold on it because I think it's stupid as far as it doesn't represent much, but I do think it lends itself to having good fights put on, which I really enjoy, and a lot of good fighters fighting for it. So it's made fights, it's main evented fights, and I like most of the fights that it's made. So that's why I like it. But on the other hand, like I said, I don't put much stock behind it. You know, both these dudes got knocked out by the GOAT, Ilya. So, but I think it should be done with. I don't know who Charles would be able to defend it against, and I don't think Conor wants to just, grab the belt for no reason, especially after that Charles performance. I think he'd rather come in, fight a money fight against someone that he knows he could strike with. So, that might have been the last BMF fight ever. And it would be brutal if that's how it ended, because like I said, there have been a ton of great BMF title fights. Also, New Jersey, you see it. Declan Rice on the back. Bang. Hope you saw it. Like white on rice, baby. So, we'll see what happens with the BMF fight. Unfortunate, because now I feel like how could Max fight Conor off a loss? I'd be down. Max off a loss, Conor off a loss, and a fat not layover, but fat off period. He's been inactive, so we'll see. Charles obviously not getting the Charles fight Conor fight, like I said. Where's Charles go from here? Do we do Armin again? And that's the thing. Are we going to screw Armin again? Because Armin should be fighting Ilya at the White House. We will get into that. But unfortunately, Dana has said repeatedly that he doesn't like him. So it seems like they're shelving the boy Armin. And that's tough to see because, as New York Rick always likes to point out, he believes that Armin is the best lightweight in the world. Now, I don't believe that because Ilia Topuria is currently in the lightweight division, but I think Armin's second if Islam's in the welterweight division. So let's get in 1 and 2. Nobody believes that Justin Gaethje is the second best lightweight in the world. And again, he could do something incredible, especially at the White House. Ilya might be really out of his depths. It's going to be fucking weird. It doesn't seem like there's anything that's ever phased Ilya before, so I'm not thinking he's going to be out of his depths, but anything can happen in a fight. Gaethje does have power, so we'll see. But back to Armin. I'm sorry. Back to Armin. It looks like him and Charles. I mean, what else would we really do? You got to reward Charles for getting the BMF fight. Do you think they even make that a BMF title fight? No. Armin Charles? That's not a BMF fight, especially since they don't like Armin. They're not giving him a belt for no reason. So I don't know where either of them go from here. What is another lightweight that they could fight? I mean, I guess we got to see what fights happen, too. We got to see who wins and who's coming up, because that plays a massive role. But, you know, the top of the lightweight division has always and will always be a bit of an issue, because you got a lot of stars in that division. So they hold it up in the sense where maybe they're past their prime a little bit. But and when I say past their prime, maybe they all could have been past their prime together fighting each other. But in stepped Ilya. And that's a new generation, new evolution of fighter that they are not accustomed to, haven't seen, and will never see again, probably, as far as the way he hits people after and knocks people out after moving up a weight class. You know, it's really Pereira-esque. And so with that, I guess we can segue right into the White House announcement. Now, a lot of people hated the White House announcement. A lot of people were hating on it. Ariel Helwani said he pretty much knew that Jon Jones and Conor weren't going to be on it. I figured Conor wasn't going to be on it. The whole money thing makes sense to me. I never thought that they would book him on a card where they couldn't really sell tickets. Doesn't make sense, because you could sell out Conor McGregor, and not only sell out like they always do, but you can sell those tickets for a fuckload. So, makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. But I thought Jon Jones was going to be on it. I won't lie to you. The way that as soon as Ariel Helwani said that Jon Jones was in talks, when Jon Jones came out and said he was in talks, when everything was validated that they were discussing a deal, and I figured that they weren't going to give him the $30 million again, but I figured Jon wasn't going to ask for $30 million. And it sounds like both is true. It sounds like Jon asked for a lower number probably, then they lowballed him. And he was like, this isn't, we're not even close to being on terms. Even if he did ask for $30 million, apparently the response was so, whatever it is, I thought they were going to be able to get Jon Jones on this card. I'm super excited that Ilya's on it. If Ilya was going to be on it, I wish it was Islam. But honestly, I wasn't expecting Ilya Islam, especially because I said this on Twitter. But do we know about Ali Abdelaziz's, record? I know that's always a thing that's brought up to kind of talk shit on him, but legitimately there's background checks for everyone that's going to the White House. It seems like he doesn't seem like he would be passing a background check. Either way, I wasn't expecting that either. So as far as my initial take on the card, I was pretty happy. Easily the best card of the year. What have they done this year that would make you think that this card would be what have they done this year to this part that wouldn't make you absolutely thrilled by having Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira on a card together? Ilia to defend his belt and being challenged by interim title holder Justin Gaethje. And then, although Pereira is going up for an interim title, it's the first time anyone would ever do that, so it's history regardless. And let's see what Gon's made of. Let's see how Pereira looks at heavyweight, and let's see what Gon's made of, because Gon's had this opportunity so many times. Let's see if he finally can capitalize. And then we got O'Malley Zahabi. O'Malley, Jan, peak. O'Malley, Sandhagen right below. O'Malley, Zahabi down lower. But again, I understand the booking. He's an American, one of the few Americans on the card, and they think he's going to stunt on Zahabi. And if he does stunt on Zahabi, then who knows? Then that's a really good look for the Americans, because there's not many other chances that the Americans are getting. And another fight banger, Michael Chandler versus Mauricio Hufi. You know what's funny about this one? You know what I saw? It's like someone said that poor Michael Chandler is basically being given Conor McGregor. But if you took away all of the money that came with and fame that came away with Conor McGregor, but left all of his skills, but left the peak McGregor skills, and took away the cocaine addiction. Now that's a scary man, if I've ever heard a description before. Mauricio Hufi is a scary man. Scary man. And I do not give Chandler much of a chance in this fight. But again, another American. I figured Michael Chandler was going to be on it. I didn't think he was going to fight anyone crazy. And again, I didn't think McGregor was going to be on the card. So Chandler McGregor never crossed my mind. And then another person who I figured was an absolute lock, not only because he's American, but because he seems to be a personal friend of Donald's, is Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. Now, initially, wasn't too thrilled about this booking. I thought if you're going to get... Again, I get where if you want Americans to win, but Dawkins is American anyway, so it was just one of those things where maybe we would see Bo in a more high-caliber fight, but once I heard on the Ariel Helwani show that Dawkins, basically had, grew up in the heart of Philly, didn't have much growing up, got kicked out of the UFC and then brought back, and then now has, strung several wins together, and that's the embodiment of the American dream. So it just looks like that one again comes off a little weird, and man, he's been killing it on Twitter. Have you guys seen it? He's been killing it on Twitter. I mean, he is funnier than people give him credit for. I didn't even know he was funny. But you got to give it to him. He's playing it off well. He knows people aren't exactly thrilled about what's going on. He gets it. He gets that he's not the person everyone wanted on the card. He's not the person that everyone thought Bo was going to fight. But after you listen to his story, it really embodies the American dream. And again, he's playing it great on Twitter. You guys should check it out. Kyle Dawkins. That's probably not his that, but I don't know. Is that even how you say his last name? Dawkins. And then last one, banger fight. Diego Lopez, Steve Garcia. If you know fighting, you know that this is an absolute banger fight. Not crazy stakes, but listen, they love Diego Lopez. They fucking love Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez is at every major card. 300. He was the Sphere. Now he's doing this. He got to go back-to-back with, get the rematch for Volk. And listen, he's pretty exciting, but I feel like Volk dominated him so much where it kind of dimmed his excitement just a little bit for the fans. So we'll see how he does on that card. But like I said, they love him. So, and with that closes out the card. I thought maybe there'd be one more fight. There's only 6, not 7. But like I said, probably when I saw it, 7.5, 8 out of 10 excitement. It's not the best card of all time, but compared to the beginning of this year, it is unbelievable. Blows everything else out of the fucking water. And as far as where we are right now in the Paramount era. And again, I didn't expect Conor, so it wasn't crazy. But I was a little dim because I thought it was going to be Jones' prayer. I did. I'll admit to that. And so I wish that's what it was, but it isn't. And so we have to get over it, and let's just be excited for it. Because they finally announced a good card, and with announcing this card, they had a slew of other announcements, and we got some good fights on our hands. Easy segue, but particularly in the land of the Garden State in New Jersey. So that's exciting. One of the cards that was announced is Newark, New Jersey, and that is the 2026 Middleweight Championship. The championship's online. That's between Hamzat and Sean Strickland. I was looking to see what is the date of that? I don't know. So, not sure what the date of it is, but that's a banger. What's the rest of the card? Let's see. Let's see what the rest of the card is. Okay. Then they got Volkov versus Cortez Acosta. Salsa Boy. That's a sick fight. You know what I mean? That's the co-main. Then we got Brady versus Buckley. Also a sick fight. Hardcore fan fight. Could have been the co-main event easily. But, heavyweights, I guess, are above them. But let's see. Is Buckley there? Is Brady slipping, or is Brady still on top? Can he maintain that top 7, top 5 status in the UFC, or is Buckley really gonna come on? I mean, he got wrestled hard by Kamaru, so let's see if Brady can do the same, or let's see if Buckley's gotten a lot better. Then Blachowicz, Jan on that, and it's a pretty good main card. There are some other good fights on the prelims, but like I said, that's a pretty good main card. They also announced that Adesanya and Joe Pyfer, that might have already been announced, but that's, in a few weeks with, Michael Chiesa's on that. I think that's in Seattle. So hopefully Michael Chiesa can get a win at home. They have Renato Moicano versus Chris Duncan. That's a headliner in April. Then Yuri versus Olberg for the vacant title. This we already knew, but Josh Van, Tatsuro Taira, Curtis Blades, Josh Hokett, Johnny Walker, our guy Dominic Reyes, and then Costa moving up. We talked about all this, but that's a banger card. That's April 11th. Then we got Burns versus Malott. And one I'm pretty excited for is Sterling Aljamain versus Zalal. Like, I just want to see Sterling back in there. Sterling be able to get a W. And then another phenomenal one is Jack Delana versus Carlos Prates. That's not for a while. That's in May. But then May 9th, like I was saying, the Hamzat and Strickland fight. And I will be attending that. I have to attend that. I've never been to a pay-per-view. I've only been to fight nights. I couldn't go last year. Something happened with my vehicle. Money talks. Didn't have enough to go to the, Dana's fucking $1 million extravaganza at The Rock, Newark, New Jersey. So, you got to make decisions, big boy decisions. But those are the fights coming up, and so let's talk about exactly what we think about those fights, right? Let's talk about what we think about those fights. First of all, I'll go in depth for the card this weekend a little bit early, but a little bit later. But let's talk about the fights in the future that got announced. Joe Pyfer, Adesanya. Initial thoughts, ready? That's what I'm going to rattle off. Initial thoughts, and then as the weeks come closer, I'll talk a little bit more about it. Initial thoughts are, unfortunately, it's either Izzy gets knocked out or Izzy points him for 5 rounds. And Joe Pyfer probably is going to wrestle. So initial thought, Joe Pyfer probably wins it somehow, either like utilizing the wrestling or he knocks him out. Again, like I said before, hopefully Michael Chiesa can just get a win. And then Abdul Malik is also on that card, so it looks like he's probably going to get a win. Sorry. In my throat. But then we move on to Renato Moicano, Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's a savage. Chris Duncan's a fucking savage. Money Moicano might have his work cut out for him there, but hopefully he can pull something off. Yuri Olberg, we've talked about. Banger fight. Who knows? Somebody's going to get knocked out. Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. Again, kind of a who knows. Probably Josh Van, I'd say. He looked like a stud, but he could get taken down and submitted easily or something like that. He hasn't had enough experience for me to be confident to say that he won't. And then we got Josh Hokett, Curtis Blades. Gonna be hilarious because Josh Hokett's very odd, very weird guy, and Curtis Blades is a very straight up guy. And Curtis Blades is definitely going to be wrestling him. That is a fact. Josh Hokett is probably going to try and strike at distance. One of the two things is going to happen, and one of the two men is going to win. And we'll see what the betting lines are next when it gets close to that. And then Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, 2 beasts. Let's hope that goes well. Paulo Costa would be sick to see him win when he goes up. Then Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott. Odd fight, I feel like. I just don't know. It seems like Gilbert's kind of over the hump. Mike needs to get past. I think Gilbert is going to tough it out, but Mike's probably going to point him to death. That type of thing. And like I said before, I'm excited about Aljo Zalal. I hope Aljo can just get in the win column. Zalal's on a heater, so who really knows? It's probably going to be a really close fight, but hopefully Sterling can pull it off. And then Prates Madalena, I mean, it just seems like if Madalena stands with him, he's going to get hit eventually, at least once, by one of Carlos's shots, and Carlos puts people out. Lights out. So scared about that one. And then, Chimaev Strickland, again, instant reaction. Chimaev's going to murder everybody. Like, I don't see how he's beatable. I respect Sean Strickland's wrestling defense, especially against Fluffy. That was a great show. But it really looks like Strickland has been unbeatable. So I have to stick with that until it looks like he's not unbeatable. Volkov versus Salsa Boy. Someone's probably going to get knocked out. I don't know. You kind of want to lean towards experience with Volkov, but at some point, someone's got to move up and be the next guy at heavyweight. So we'll see about that one. I don't really know. Instant reaction for Buckley Brady. The way Brady looked last time, I feel like Buckley's going to put it on him and be able to stop the wrestling. I hope that's not true because I really like Sean Brady, but that's instant reaction. Jan versus Guskov. Instant reaction is it's a hard night in the office for Jan. And then that is pretty much it for that card. So, we also got, I'll just go a little bit as far as more announcements for the first half of the year. We got Arnold Allen versus Melky Costa. Brutal. Give my boy almighty Arnold Allen one, not easy, but just somebody that's not an absolute fucking heater, not one of the best people in the world. And then we got Figgy Song. That's going to be sweet. Pavlovich Teixeira. Again, it's heavyweight. We need someone to step up. Bilal making his return versus Bonfim. Sheesh. It's kind of like the Arnold Allen thing. It's like they're not giving my boy. They're not doing. I mean, Bilal's not even. I don't love Bilal, but they're not doing that guy any favors, and he's a former champion. So, good fights, though. Good fights. And then, like I said, I wanted to just kind of end it off by going a little bit more in depth with this fight card coming up, and that is Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. Again, not the best card. We'll go through it real quick, but really the only other thing that you'd want to really talk about is Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Let's see if Christian Leroy Duncan can break in. It's a card in England. They're probably trying to get the English fans behind him. So we'll see if Christian Leroy Duncan can break into the rankings. And then Louis Sutherland, big man. It is insane to see him in there, and I was hyped the last time he fought, so I'm hoping he does well. But then the real name value on this card is MVP, and he's fighting Sam Patterson. No real stakes for this fight at all. It doesn't really make sense. Again, we've talked about this. Michael Venom Page 13, Sam Patterson unranked, both English, so it's not even really like they're trying to push Sam Patterson or something like that. I don't know. It almost just seems like they knew if they put MVP on the card, they get more tickets, but they didn't want to do anything for him. You know what I mean? Fight on the card, probably get a win, but who cares? And then Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell Jr. I'm not going to lie. I don't really know about this. Luke Riley is English, so I'm assuming they're trying to push him. But then in the main event, this is why I wanted to even talk about it. Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. Initial reaction. Damn. I love Lerone. He's coming off a spinning back elbow. KO. And they're going to give him Movsar instead of the title shot. I'd much rather watch Lerone Murphy versus Volkanovski than I would Lerone Murphy versus Movsar. Especially in England. This could have been crazy. It could have been a pay-per-view, but, they gave him Diego Lopez. And now it seems like this is for the number one contender. Who knows if that's actually the case? But initial reaction is Movsar Evloev is just going to wrestle him. And I've seen a lot of people say they believe in Lerone because they think he's a more rounded fighter. I think that's true because his striking is much better. But I think Movsar's wrestling is just very, very good. The fight he had with Aljo was their grappling exchanges were crazy. So I had a newfound respect for him and his grappling. But yeah, it just... Again, I want Lerone to pull something off. I want it, especially for him, at home. But I unfortunately don't see it. And it's going to be... It looks like one of the two people who deserves a title shot more than anyone else in the division. Almost double-digit win streaks for both of them. I think they're both at 9. So whoever does get the title shot will have a double-digit win streak. But hopefully... whoever wins just gets the next title shot. But I do think it's going to be Movsar, but I do hope it is Lerone Murphy, the Miracle. So, but it was good to be back today. I'm sorry that I missed a week. Sometimes I'm not in my apartment. I was away for a whole week, so they're not going to be every week. But I made sure to jump in here so that I could get this recorded and then get it posted ASAP. To keep my almost weekly commitment to the show. I appreciate anybody who tunes in. Let's hope that this is a good direction. And, I didn't really get into it today because I don't have enough time. We're reaching the half-hour mark. But I will, as more fights get announced, talk about the MVP MMA card. I think I might have talked about it in a different thing, but Rousey versus Gina Carano, Francis versus Felipe Lins, and then just recently announced Nate Diaz, Mike Perry, banger. I understand that all these people are past their primes and they're not super hip in the sport right now, but competition is good. It's going to get the fighters more money, and I'm excited to see Nate Diaz back in fucking MMA. I'm excited to see Mike Perry back in MMA. I'm excited to see Francis back in MMA. Of course, Rousey and Gina, Rousey, obviously, I saw Gina was kind of before me, but I'm excited about that, and hopefully that we are moving in a good direction as far as combat sports and the layout and all of that is concerned. With that, we out.
I'm drinking this bitch, I'm letting shit go. And I heard that she wanna show me who she be. I'm gonna fuck her with it, show me some more.